Hey YouTube, good morning. Well, it's Saturday morning, hey, about 7:41 in the morning, and we just got FSDBeta version 10.69.3.1, which is still on the 2022.36 branch. So we are not on V11 yet. We are not on the single stack yet. This is a bug fix to the previous version 10.69.3. The interesting thing about this release is that it looks like they made a mistake on the release notes. When I was tweeting out the release notes this morning, we started to notice that some of these were different than 69.3, and what we realized is these are actually the release notes for 10.69.2.4. So I guess they just made a mistake. I do not think this is a regression in the code back to that previous code base, basically because of the branch versioning. I think there was just a clerical error in inserting the wrong release notes. Typically on a .1 release, the release notes don't change at all. So I expect that this is basically just a bug fix. But another interesting twist, I did shout out to Elon and Ashok this morning to see if there was any clarification, but I don't expect we'll hear back from them on that subject. It was just a typo. But it does look like, and Elon did tweet that this version is going wider release, which means they're trying to get everybody on FSDBeta on this version, probably in preparation of the jump to version 11. That will be single stack. Exciting to see. We will keep an eye on that. This is just going to be the first impressions drive. I'm not going to do a whole stack of unprotected left turns yet, mostly because I wanted to get a little bit more traffic for the unprotected left turns. So this will just be our first impressions drive to Memorial Park and back. Let's see how it goes. But we are getting an unprotected right turn here. See if any changes. Where's my creep wall? There it is. Just popped in. And okay, the right lane is open. As a human driver, I probably would have gone in the right lane, but I know a lot of people don't like to do that because those cars could have been changing lanes. So that was the perfectly safe thing to do there. And the acceleration out of that turn feels okay. No complaints. Yeah, we've been kind of a lot of anxiety. Anxiety's not the right word. A lot of anticipation for version 11 after Elon tweeted that it rolled out on November 11th. You know, so that was about a week ago, a little over a week ago. Today is the 19th, and we kind of just felt like it was going to come wider to the beta testers, but it never did. A couple of leaked release notes for version 11 did come out this morning. Omar at Holmar's catalog did get a full set of them, it looks like, and I retweeted them. So take a look at my Twitter if you want to take a look at those release notes. A lot of single stack, a lot of highway driving, a lot of lane change type improvements in there. I think it's worth a pretty deep look to see what those release notes have packed in them. It's kind of a overcast, little drizzly day here. So it's not necessarily got bright sun, which will probably be great for filming. But at the same time, the environment just got a little bit of sprinkles. It should not affect the FSD ability to stay engaged at all, though. It's not that heavy at all. All right, coming up here on this intersection, we might have created a good scenario where we got well, it's actually a green and a flashing red light. I like to see, oh, and it turned red, so that was fine. There still is an issue, I believe, on the double green light scenario, where when a set of green lights is a certain distance apart, when you go through the first one, you get a slowdown and then a re-acceleration that does not feel human-like at all. Sometimes I get it created in that scenario right there when that light intersection is green and green back to back. So I am going to disengage here and take a right just to modify the route. I did not use a waypoint today. It's probably the easier way of doing it. I wish on this route that the optional routes function would allow me to go a different way, but it just doesn't ever do that. I always disengage with the stalk when I don't want a recorded event to be sent back to the team. That's just a little trick to let everybody know. You know, if you disengage vertically with the stalk, It disengages all modes, but without recording an actual disengagement. I've been playing with the turn signal location for the screen. I seem to like mine up in this upper left a little bit better. I'm still playing with the, since we just got this on our release not too long ago, but it seems like I seem to prefer it right about there, which does make the filming a little bit different on the things that it does obscure. All right, we should be taking a protected left here. I'm sorry, it's unprotected without a green arrow. This light does have an arrow, but it's not on at the moment. Whoa, it feels like it went really wide on that. Wider than it needed to. Okay, but it was smooth. It just took it really wide. We got a pedestrian jogger here. Not... Oh, it slowed down right there. I don't know what that slowdown was for. It was a beam and past the jogger when it slowed down. It just gave a little bit of a break there. So these parking spots here on the right, see how it's being drawn as a visible, drivable space? I think we've got to fix that. For those of you that watched the New York Times article that came out this week, there was a section where the car drove into the parking lot. It's for something very similar to this, where the drivable space is being visualized as larger than the lane. Now in this one, they're occasionally drawing a little gray line that is keeping it hugging the left central lane, the left yellow lane. So here's a roundabout that is not on the map data. I've done this quite a few times. It should not stop at this yield, but that's what it normally does here, even though there's no traffic. It's kind of doing a full stop there, but it's doing this visually because this is not on the map data. So it's just being really cautious, but it did fine. I don't have any problems with that. I am probably also going to force the route off of this roundabout a different direction, so we go through Riverside. But I'm going to do it at the last minute here. And look, ooh, it stopped. That was not me. It stopped completely. Okay, I'm going to disengage here just to change the route. But that was interesting. It's definitely stopping on roundabouts. Okay, modified the route again here, and it'll remap in just a second, and that's perfect. On this, ooh, we got a good jogger here in the bike lane. Let's see if it does any sort of slowdown, and it didn't. That was great. You know, if there's no vector saying there's going to be any sort of interaction, it shouldn't slow down. All right, this S-curve coming up is one of my blinker tests where it's doing a full S-curve, but on this next turn, it seems to always use the blinker, even though we're not turning on and off a lane. It's just the road's curving, and there it is again. Blinker comes on, and then I believe on this next one, we get a left blinker also. No, didn't get it that time. Yeah, just as I said it, it came back up. It's just a little bit of blinker inconsistencies that they haven't been able to get out of the code yet. It's not a huge deal for the safety, but it does create confusion for people behind you if there was anyone right behind you, because blinkers do express intent. Okay, we go back to the full screen here. So this is a little village, Avondale, that sometimes has a lot of pedestrians. This time of day, there's really not going to be anybody. It's probably just going to blaze through. But it does present a unique situation where these parked cars do back out occasionally, and they usually are backing out blind and having to do it really, really slowly. Yeah, no interactions. It drove right straight through today. No problem. So far it's feeling really smooth. I don't have any disengagements that we've logged because of the car. It's confident. Feels like the accelerations are about right. Maybe the roundabout yield is the only thing I'd probably call out right now. Ooh, see these joggers coming up here? That was an interesting one. So I knew they were going to turn. The car did not. Now, granted, that was a very, very good scenario. It did the right thing. but you could almost see those vectors being calculated that they could continue on. In my mind, I knew exactly where they were going to go. Nobody just runs out in the middle of the road. I shouldn't say nobody, but in my mind, I wasn't worried about them at all. So it looks like we might be at the jogging hour right now, getting a lot of VRU interactions today. That was a random blinker. Okay, I'm on a straight road with no intent to turn, so that was just a random blinker there. Not sure why that popped up at all. Flashing yellow here. Sometimes we get a little red, and there's yellow, and there's some red in there. So I don't know. I talk about that every time. I don't know where that red is coming from. I've had some comments in my videos before try to describe the way the colors are inferred, but I don't know. It seems like that ought to be pretty easy to do. I feel like the bias around these parked cars is very, very good. It's exactly in the right spot of the lane where I would want it. Okay, on this intersection, the car did a good job getting in the right lane. The only notable thing is I have to turn left and then right immediately. And in turning right, I have to get into the right lane. I do have an arrow, so I'm protected, and I do have a car to interact with. So right, real slow there. Now, I think that slowness created that confusion. There were two cars right behind me that had to slow down because I was almost stopping in the intersection. So that did not feel supernatural. It did it legally and safely, but the cars around me were a little bit confused. Blinker right there. Now that could have been a lane change blinker in that situation. Don't have a problem with that. If that's what it was. I don't think that one was random like the previous one. Really low traffic interaction today, so there's just not much parked cars or stopped buses or anything to deal with. This is pretty straightforward. A lot of potholes here in this section. You can even see the water, and you can probably hear my car going through them. It didn't yield or slow down or anything for those potholes or anything. That functionality is not here yet. A little bit of occupancy network graphics there. Behind that trash can, it was rendering the pile of yard debris. So far, so good. A little bit of hesitation in some spots. That last intersection where it kind of really slowed down in the middle of the intersection, it could create an accident like that with human interaction, but you can't fault the car for taking the time it needed for making the right decision. Okay, there's the end of leg one here at Memorial Park. So I don't have any major complaints. It feels smooth. I think that was a nice bug fix. I think that the yields at the roundabouts is still something that probably is going to irritate Chris at Dirty Tesla more than me. I don't have a whole lot of roundabouts, but that's not the way roundabouts are designed to keep traffic flow moving. So I think that this is a bug fix. That's what I would call it. It smoothed some things out. I didn't have any major issues, and we're all progressing on the right branch. So I've got the return leg already programmed in here, and let's see how it does on the way back. All right, this intersection is a funny shaped one, and this is a very good one for watching how they project the creep limit, because it doesn't have straight geometry to align with. So let's see where the creep limit is placed here. See how it's way out there and then it jumped. So it moved. I like where it put it just then. We got a car to the left and we're clear to the right. See, and then they put a little median network in there, which I think is not accurate in the way they're representing it. There is a little bit of a median there between the lines, but it represented it as a straight path versus the curved path that we were on. So there's definitely some work that they're going to need to evolve those median networks and the creep limits. But I did like the way it corrected the creep limit and didn't go back out. Sometimes that jumps around a little bit more than it did there. Trash cans here on the right being rendered. Yep, that's all the same. No occupancy. There's a little bit of occupancy network, kind of yard debris being projected there. Is it turning here? Oh, it's taking a different route than it normally does. That's okay. I'm gonna let it do its thing. Oh, look what it just found itself. Some road closed ahead signs. Uh-oh, Beta, you created a scenario. Okay, well, I didn't mean for this to happen. It cannot go straight. It wants to go straight. Okay, let me, what's it gonna do? What's it gonna do? Oh, look at that median. Okay, it's stuck. Is it gonna fix it? Oh, it wants to go around it. Look at that path. Okay. I'm not doing anything because I don't have anyone around me, and I just kind of want to see what it's gonna do. It's projecting these road closed signs as occupancy network kind of little mounds. I really wish they would start to look at and read these signs. Okay, so it's not doing anything. I'm gonna try a tap of the accelerator first. There's a little tap, a little tap. Yeah. Okay. So that's a snapshot there, and I'll go ahead and give a disengagement with the snapshot just so that the beta engineers can see it. The funny thing is the route we normally take would not have encountered that. So that's half the fun of doing these drives, is just letting the car figure out what it needs to do. Okay, so it still wants to jump over one street, which is fine. Here you got a detour sign that's, kind of telling the humans that are reading signs where you need to go. And of course this stop sign will just take a left. This should be a two-way stop sign, so it needs to yield to the traffic from the left and the right. There's a car, got a creep limit post. Don't scoot, gosh. Okay, it was creeping forward as that car was turning. And you know how cars can cut the corner? I was closing the gap, and it got really, really close there because of the pre-roll the car used. That doesn't mean that it wasn't sort of right, but when a car is turning into your lane, you have no way of knowing the actual arc that they are going to end up making. And if you're the one moving, then you're creating that confusion. So that was a little interesting. I think I might have gotten a little lucky there. Here's another good example of this drivable space being mapped, that red line all the way to the right. Now granted, here the car is not trying to jump over and use all of that space, but I feel like the red line ought to be right here to the right of me, or some other symbology. Maybe it should be a solid gray line or something like that. So we are going home on a definitely different route here. I don't mind doing it. I just don't think we're going to get that normal unprotected left I get at the end of this Memorial Park Drive. But since the car is creating the scenario, we'll just roll with it. VRU that's walking towards the street that time, but it did not even pause or turn in blue. So that VRU person was coming down, but stopped, so that vector was calculated accurately that time. So that was a good example of how today we've had two different sets of VRUs. One of them had a much faster vector, and that other one actually had a slowing vector, and it treated it completely differently. It was mapped, didn't call it blue. That was good. I'm debating whether or not to change the route here at this light just to kind of get back. This is, well, now that it's green, I'm just going to let the car do it. I kind of want to go back over to the left a little bit to create a little bit more turning scenarios, but you never know what's going to happen, so I'll just let it go. All right. So here we got a city bus stopped on the left. This car is going around. It's done going around. I wish we had one of those scenarios today where we need to go around a stopped bus, but it didn't even, I didn't feel any sort of brake taps or anything. It was measuring everything just right. Yeah, so it's driving really smooth today. I'm not feeling much at all as far as braking or phantom braking. I mean, the things it has braked for, I know exactly why it was doing it. City bus here, crossing the yellow line a little bit, and the car didn't even budge, so it didn't feel like it needed to deviate at all. So I guess I'm kind of glad that I did this scenario, because coming up here is a very, and I've forgotten about this intersection, I've done it a few times in the past. It's got a very interesting scenario where it's got to get itself in the correct lane to take a left here. And on the map, it doesn't look too complicated, but I want you to pay special attention here as to what the car has to do this right. Here, I'm getting in this lane, and now I need to get into this left turn lane behind that car. It's got it mapped exactly right just now. And you can even see it's using its lane detection network there. Now, what you might start to be able to see, at least on the 360 camera, is there is a median up there that right now is not being visualized. You see that? It's not being visualized. I've got a green protected arrow, but let's see when the median gets drawn. And if it, now it does have a car to help it here, but it cannot cut that corner, and it nailed it. It saw it, it found it, it didn't budge at all. That was really good. I don't know how much that lead car was helping. I could probably do that turn a couple times and it would treat it differently, but that's kind of a combination of I can't see something yet I still have to make a decision as I approach it. That was really good. And it was more complicated than you might realize. That's the kind of median that humans that aren't paying attention will go straight over, right? I mean, if you're messing with your phone, or if you're not really from around here and you don't know it and you don't see it, you take the turn arc that you think you need, but that arc won't work with the way that median was. So we're waiting. So this is Roosevelt Boulevard that normally, had I gone down the different route, we would be doing an unprotected left to get on the other side of this traffic. But today we're here at this light. But if you see, the car just can't quite see that far. So right now, I know I can see this median over to the right. It's not being rendered at all. It can just start to pick up a slight little median here on the left. That little gray section in the middle is being projected. And interesting, the number of lights that are being rendered or not rendered. Now I do hear a train coming, and it's on the other side of these trees though, so I don't think you're gonna have a camera rendering of it. Here's our green protected arrow, following these cars just fine. Let's see what the acceleration here is on Roosevelt. All right, right there. The speed limit changed. It was fine. I think in a Tesla, I would have used more acceleration than that. There was nobody right behind me, so it didn't have any sort of fast approaching cars from behind that it was calculating against. Okay, we're not interacting with it right now, but here's another sign I like to point out. So you can see the train going to the right. You see that little no right turn sign there up in the... These are the types of signs that are just not standard, but are a lot of different places in the world that control traffic flow in certain situations. There's a lot of these sort of signs that are like around fire stations when the fire trucks are coming out. It stops traffic in a unique way. Yeah, so here we come up again on this next intersection. We're gonna have green lights going all the way through, but this red sign to the right needs to be understood. and rendered. So it's basically saying you can't make a right turn now because there's a train. Hey, and there's our rendering. So we got the trucks going by. That's all it knows how to do for trains right now, is call them trucks. It's kind of funny. It's been that way a long time though. Yeah, I'm really happy with the way these lanes are being handled today. It feels confident in its lane selection. I'm not feeling a whole lot of jumping around. It's the low traffic. I recognize that. There's a lot of reasons it may be behaving this way right now, but it feels good. With the exception of getting itself stuck at a road closed and not knowing what to do, everything else I think was tolerable. Even the roundabouts with the stop, you know, that's okay. It's just not the way the traffic flow's designed. So yeah, let's wrap it up here. I think we have one more turn crossing this traffic. It's going to be fine, I'm pretty sure, with the traffic density this morning. So I think this is just a pre-release. It should be going wide, should be getting all the beta testers on this .3.1 version ahead of what hopefully will be a rollout of version 11 ahead of Thanksgiving, as Elon mentioned last week, or earlier in the week. I don't know if it'll come this weekend to some more employees or if it'll go out to some testers or not. I have no information. So, but I do think it's promising that they're continuing to roll out software. Kind of a funny little bug with the release notes, but yeah. Leave some comments down below. Here we have one last unprotected left here with no green arrow. It needs to wait, but this should be an easy one for it right here. Okay, after this car, I need a pre-roll. Give me a pre-roll. There's the pre-roll. Now give me the boost, and it did just fine. Awesome. So that was a great little forward-facing unprotected left turn. It handled it just fine. All right, everybody. I'll try to get some more content out today. Maybe some unprotected lefts, maybe some narrow roads. We'll see what my day turns in and what this weather does. But have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.